Hello, I'm Wes Junannamono with Microsoft. I'm a developer evangelist here in Northern California. I'm here with Ash Morgan, and we're here to talk today about Windows Phone 7. Ash, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my day job is a developer on Microsoft PowerPoint. Been on PowerPoint for the last 12 and a half years, so a long time. Before that I was an intern and worked on Windows 95, IE3, IE4, so I've been with the company a long time.
Could you tell us a little bit about what applications you have on Marketplace today?
So yeah, I have 5. I have a dice rolling app, so it's sort of a glorified random number generator, but it's there to help you manage dice rolls that you might need for a tabletop gaming experience, because, well, that's something I do in my free time, so I needed an app to do that on my phone, so I wrote one. I also have a kanji study app for learning Japanese characters, flashcard app, also something that I needed, so I wrote it myself, and fortunately other people like it too. Then I have a couple other apps that are just sort of for fun. One is a Newton's Cradle simulation that, pull the little ball out that, clicks back and forth. It's a great physics simulator and just general entertainment. Kids seem to like it. I have an abacus app, so you can sort of practice your abacus if that's something that you're interested in. It's not my most popular app, to say the least. Not very many people have downloaded it, but it's out there. And then I also wrote a game, the classic snake game, where you can go and eat the little food pellets and the snake keeps getting longer and longer, and there's multiple levels to go through and try to beat them all.
Well, great. I mean, it seems like you've done a wide variety of applications. And given kind of your professional background here, working at Microsoft as a developer, what did you learn about Windows Phone 7 development?
Some of the first things that weren't immediately apparent early on is I didn't have a phone, of course, so I was working with the emulator. Phones weren't released in the US when, of course, I started a lot of this development. So the emulator is not the same as a real device. That's really important. It can get you a head start, certainly, but before you release to the marketplace, you should test it on a real device, because I got a lot of negative feedback on some of my apps, like, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's like, what do you mean? It works fine. I'm playing with the emulator, and it was a difference between having a real device and having the emulator. So definitely test on a real device before you actually release to the marketplace. Really important.
Is it kind of a question of, I guess, design and kind of scale, because the emulator is much bigger? And
part of it's design, part of it's scale, part of it's just the difference between the touch interaction and the mouse. You can be really precise with your mouse. I click exactly here and I drag, or I click exactly here and I drag, and that finger is really fat, and it doesn't necessarily behave exactly the same way that the mouse does. And also just the physical device, the digitizer isn't as sensitive around the edges. The mouse is equally sensitive everywhere. So you can click right on that pixel right on the edge and you'll hit it every time. Touch, it's a little finicky. You have to increase your touch targets and other things. And a lot of these things are talked about in the design guidelines for Windows Phone 7. Of course, like most developers, I didn't bother to read them at first, but then I went back and looked through it. It's like, oh, okay. And improved the app and re-released.
Well, that's great to hear. What would you tell someone that was just getting started on Windows Phone 7 development?
Read through all the samples. There's lots and lots of great samples up on the Developer Marketplace website. So download sample apps, load them up, boot them up in the emulator, put them on your phone, look at them, steal ideas from them. A lot of the ones that are at least released by Microsoft you can steal code from. They have very permissive licenses, so it's a great way to learn and just sort of like see things. If developers are like me, reading just documentation is one thing, but it's a lot better to have working code that you can sit there and break and then fix and see how it works and change it to sort of suit your needs and mold it into your own image, I guess.
Well, it's great that you've created so many apps. Are you looking at some new apps? Would you care to collaborate or elaborate about some of those?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time getting the 5 apps out, and I'm sort of kind of waiting and seeing to see how they do, trying to gauge where the marketplace is going, waiting for more phones to come in. I have some ideas for a couple other games that I want to try and a couple other utility apps, but I haven't had time to really work on them lately. But yeah, some other things coming through. I think there's a lot of there's still a lot of potential. The marketplace is still pretty young, so it's a good time to be writing apps because there's not the 10s and 20s and 30s and hundreds of thousands of apps that I find. So it's a little bit easier to get noticed. So it's good to start earlier. So I want to get more stuff in there.
Well, great. Well, thank you for the interview, and we'll see you next time.
Great, thanks.